Some things are already written, not in the fatalistic sense, not in the nothing you do matters, the outcome is fixed regardless sense. In the deeper and more honest sense of something that has been set in motion by forces larger than circumstance, by the specific combination of who you are and what you've been through and the internal work you've done that has brought you precisely to this moment. Some things, when everything aligns the way everything is aligning around you right now, stop being possibilities and become inevitabilities. What I'm about to tell you is one of those things. And I want to say it plainly before I say anything else because plain is what this energy deserves. No buildup, no careful easing into it, no warming you up with smaller things before arriving at the thing itself. There is a love coming into your life that is going to change the entire architecture of your existence, not just how you feel, how you live. The practical, daily, this is my actual life texture of your existence. And at the center of that love is a person, a specific person, someone whose connection to you is not casual, not temporary, not one chapter in a long series of chapters that leave no permanent mark, someone whose arrival in the full sense, the committed, chosen, building something real sense carries with it the specific word that I am going to say out loud right now, because Spirit is saying it so clearly over your energy that I would be doing you a disservice to soften it into something smaller. Marriage, that word, that specific, weighted, this is a life decision word. It is in your energy, it is in the field around your connection with this person. It is in the trajectory of what is already moving, even if you cannot yet see all of it from where you're standing. And it arrives not as a distant maybe or a hopeful eventually, but as something that the energy is treating as settled, as something that has already been decided in the layer where real things are decided before they become visible in the physical world. Nothing can stop this. That is not hyperbole. That is what I'm seeing. Before we go deeper, if something in you went completely still when I said that word, if something that has been hoping quietly finally felt permission to hope loudly, if a face appeared in your mind and your body responded to that face in a way that bypassed your mind entirely, hit that like button, subscribe to this channel, and drop the word written in the comments right now. Because that is what this is. Already written, already in motion, already closer than you know. Let's go into what Spirit is showing me. Let me start with what I felt before I felt anything else. Because the first impression matters, and what arrived the moment I connected to your energy today was not information. It was a quality, a specific texture that I want to describe because I think when I name it, you're going to recognize it as something you've been feeling at the edges of your own experience without being able to fully articulate what it is. It felt like arrival, not approaching, not on its way, arrival, the specific energetic quality of something that has crossed the threshold that is already here in the sense that the decision has been made and the direction has been set, and what remains is simply the unfolding of what has already been determined. Like a letter that has been written and sealed and sent and is somewhere in the journey between the hand that wrote it and the hands that will receive it. The writing is done, the sending is done. The arriving is simply a matter of time and not much time. That is the quality I felt around you, around this connection, around what is moving toward you right now, even as you watch this. And underneath that quality of arrival, holding it up, giving it its particular weight, was something else, something I want to name separately because it is distinct and significant, and I don't want it to get lost inside the larger thing. Wealth, not as an afterthought, not as a bonus feature attached to the love, as something that is woven into the fabric of what is coming, as something that is part of the specific form this love takes when it arrives in your life in full, because the love that is coming to you is not arriving in scarcity. It is not asking you to choose between being loved and being stable, between emotional abundance and material abundance, between the person who moves your heart and the life that feels properly supported. What is coming holds both simultaneously in the specific way that real, lasting, built on solid ground love always holds both when it arrives in its complete form. The wealth I'm seeing is not incidental to the connection. It is an expression of the same fundamental alignment that produces the connection itself. The alignment between who you are and what you're finally, in this chapter, being met with. You deserve both. Spirit is saying that without equivocation today, you deserve the love and you deserve the life that surrounds it, and you are about to receive them together. Now, let me tell you about this person. Not their name, not their physical description, but their energy, the specific quality of who they are and why the universe has been moving them toward you with the particular intention I'm seeing in the field right now. This is someone who has substance. I use that word deliberately because it is the word that keeps coming through. Substance in the character sense. A person who has done the internal work, who has reckoned honestly with themselves, who has not bypassed the difficult questions about who they are and what they want and what they're willing to bring to another person. Someone who has earned their own self knowledge through actual experience rather than assumption, who knows what they value because they've tested it, who knows what they're capable of giving because they've examined themselves honestly enough to know. And substance in the material sense, this is someone whose life has the foundation that allows love to flourish rather than struggle, who does not bring financial instability as an additional weight on top of the natural complexity of two lives coming together, who has built something through their own effort, their own intelligence, their own particular combination of vision and discipline that provides a context for love that is spacious rather than constrained. That combination, internal substance and external stability, is not common. And Spirit is showing me that it is not coincidence that this specific combination is what is coming to you. Because you have done your own version of that work. You have built your own version of that substance. And what is moving toward you is the specific mirror of what you've become. The reflection of your own level of development arriving in the form of a person who has reached the same level through their own completely different path. Two people who have done the work meeting, building something together that neither of them could have built before they did that work, and neither of them could build as well with anyone else. That is the love that is coming. I want to speak to the part of this that you may be finding hardest to receive. And I say that because I feel it in your energy, a specific resistance that I want to address directly rather than talk around. the part about deserving it, because that word deserve is one that Virgo energy often struggles with in a particular way. Not because you don't believe in deserve as a concept, because you apply it rigorously to others and incompletely to yourself. Because somewhere in the careful, self examining, always looking for what you could do better quality of your nature, there is a pattern of finding the ways you're still not enough, still working on something, still not quite at the place where receiving something this good feels fully justified. I want to interrupt that pattern today directly because Spirit is not being subtle about it. You have earned this. Not in the transactional sense of, I did enough good things to qualify. In the deeper sense of having become someone through real experience and real growth and real choices made in difficult moments, that the love I'm describing can actually land in and hold. Because love of this quality, wealthy, committed, permanent, the kind that ends in marriage and builds a life, requires a person who has done the internal preparation to receive it, who isn't going to unconsciously push it away because deep down they don't believe they're allowed to have it, who isn't going to self sabotage it because comfort with this level of being loved is still unfamiliar. You have done that preparation through everything you've been through the relationships and situations that taught you what you don't want with enough clarity that you can recognize what you do want when it arrives, through the periods of being alone with yourself and learning slowly and sometimes painfully how to be someone you actually respect, through the quiet, unglamorous daily work of becoming more fully and honestly yourself. That work produced you as you are right now. And you, as you are right now, is exactly and precisely the person this love is coming to find. Stop making yourself wait for permission to believe that. The permission is here. Spirit is handing it to you directly. You deserve what is coming, completely, without asterisks. Now I want to show you what I see when I look at the specific trajectory, how this moves from where you are now to where Spirit is showing me you are going. Because the full picture is more beautiful than the summary, and I want you to see it. What I see first is a deepening. Before the formal commitment, before the conversation that uses the words that change everything, there is a period of deepening that is already in motion. A period where what exists between you and this person becomes more honest, more layered, more genuinely known on both sides, where the things that have been felt but not fully said begin to find their way into language, where the connection that has existed at one level begins to show its full depth, because both of you have arrived at the place where the full depth can be held between you without either of you needing to manage it down to something more comfortable. That deepening is happening now, even if it is not yet fully visible to you, even if what you can see from the outside is still the surface. Underneath the surface, something is becoming more real, more permanent, more certain with every day that passes. And then I see a moment, a specific moment that Spirit keeps returning to, and that I want to describe, even though moments of this kind resist description, because they exist in the register of feeling rather than language. There is a moment coming where something between you becomes named, where what has been understood between you implicitly becomes explicit. where the word or the question or the gesture arrives that takes what exists in the private interior of your connection and makes it real in the shared external world, where the direction that has been moving becomes a direction that is chosen out loud. That moment is not far, and the quality of it, the specific way it feels when it arrives, is going to be unlike anything you've experienced before. Not because it is dramatic, because it is true. Because it arrives without the ambiguity that has surrounded other significant moments in your romantic history, because it lands with the complete, unqualified, this is what I mean, weight of something said by someone who has arrived at their own certainty and is no longer interested in anything less than complete honesty with you. And beyond that moment, I see the building, the specific, practical, this is our life together building that begins when two people who have chosen each other fully start directing their combined energy towards something shared, a home. A future that is planned with both of you in the picture as a permanent and non negotiable part of the plan, the specific texture of a daily life that is inhabited together. That has the quality of something chosen rather than something settled for. That is the life I see ahead of you. Real, specific, wealthy in the fullest sense of that word, materially supported, emotionally rich, spiritually aligned, built on the kind of foundation that holds not just when things are good, but when things are complicated, which they always become, because the foundation was built from truth rather than from the convenient version of truth. I want to speak to something about the wealth specifically, because Spirit keeps returning to it and I don't want to leave it unaddressed. The wealth that is coming with this love is not separate from who this person is. It is an expression of who they are, of the same qualities that make them capable of the love I've been describing, the substance, the discipline, the vision, the willingness to build rather than simply hope applied to the material dimension of life. You are not receiving wealth as a feature. You are receiving a person whose relationship to abundance is healthy, intentional, rooted in the same values that make them who they are in every other domain. And what that means, practically what it means in the daily reality of a shared life, is that the question of financial stress, of material scarcity, of the particular strain that money problems put on love, is not going to be part of your story with this person. Not because life will be without challenge, because the material foundation is solid enough to hold the challenges without them becoming existential. Because the question of whether you can afford your life together is answered clearly and comfortably in favor of yes. That matters. It matters more than it is sometimes comfortable to admit, because there is a narrative that says real love shouldn't be about material things. And that narrative is both true and incomplete. It is true that love is not fundamentally about money. It is incomplete because the absence of financial stability in a relationship puts a specific and relentless pressure on love that even the deepest love struggles to remain unaffected by over time. What is coming protects you from that pressure completely, and you are allowed to receive that protection as part of the gift, as part of what you deserve, as part of the full and complete version of love that the universe has been building toward for you through everything you've been through to get here. Let me tell you what I need you to do as this unfolds, because there is something specific that Spirit keeps returning to as a message for you personally, and I want to make sure it lands clearly. Stay open to the form. What I mean by that is this: the love I'm describing is real and it is coming, but it may not arrive in the exact package your imagination has constructed for it. The person may arrive through a channel you didn't expect. The timing may unfold differently than the version you've been picturing. The way the connection develops may move through stages that surprise you before it arrives at the destination that Spirit is clearly showing me it arrives at. None of those surprises change the destination. The destination is what I've described. The love, the commitment, the wealth, the marriage, the life, built together on a foundation solid enough to hold it all. That destination is not in question. What is not entirely predictable is the specific road that gets you there. And if you are too attached to the road looking a particular way, if you've decided in advance what the path is supposed to look like and you're filtering your experience through that decision, you risk not recognizing the real thing when it arrives because it arrived differently than you expected. Stay open, stay present, stay in the actual experience of what is unfolding rather than in the comparison between what is unfolding and the version you pre-constructed. Because what is actually coming is better than the version you constructed. It is more specific to who you actually are and what you actually need and what will actually make you happy in the daily, practical, this is my real life sense. The universe has been building this toward you with more precision than your imagination has access to. Trust that precision. Trust that what arrives will fit you more completely than what you designed for yourself. And when it arrives, when the person and the love and the life I've been describing begin to take visible form in your actual experience, receive it with the full version of yourself present, not the careful version, not the 1 foot out the door version, not the version that is already preparing for the possibility of disappointment, so that the disappointment, if it comes, won't be a surprise. The full version, the one that is willing to be in something real completely, that is willing to let the good thing be as good as it actually is, that is willing to let a person love them well without finding reasons that the love can't quite be trusted. That version of you is ready for this, has been ready for this, has been ready longer than the circumstances have allowed you to know it. And now the circumstances are changing. Nothing can stop this, Virgo. Not timing, not geography, not the complications and logistics that seem large from where you're standing, but that the energy is treating as entirely manageable in the larger picture of what is being built. Not the history, not the things that happened before that made loving fully feel dangerous. Not the part of you that still holds its breath when something good gets close because it remembers what it felt like when good things dissolved. None of it. Because what is coming is not fragile in the way that the things that dissolved were fragile. It is not built on the conditions that allowed those things to fall apart. It is built on something different, on something more honest, more substantial, more permanently true than what came before. It is built on the specific, irreducible reality of two people who have done the work of becoming themselves and arrived through completely different roads at the same place at the same time, ready for the same thing, capable of the same depth, willing to choose each other not from scarcity or fear or the particular desperation of not wanting to be alone, but from the full, clear, unhurried knowing of people who have learned to trust their own perception of what is real. That love does not dissolve, it builds, it deepens, it becomes over time the most solid thing in your life, the thing everything else is organized around, the thing you look back on in years from now and understand as the turning point, as the moment when the chapter you'd been living in ended and the chapter you were actually meant for began. That chapter is beginning now. The wealthy love is coming. The person is coming. The life is coming. And you, after everything, after all of it, deserve every single part of it. Go receive it, Virgo, with both hands open and the fullest, most unguarded version of yourself completely present. It is already written, and it is already on its way.